everybody is doing good and had an awesome week. Happy Friday and welcome to Embroidery Happy Hour. And for those of you new, hi, I'm Jeanette from Boricua Sewing Crafts. And let me show you how this goes. Okay, now the first hour, I'll be talking about the topic. And then after that, then I will be going down the chat and saying hi to everybody and answering any questions and, just chatting along and just hanging out for the rest of the night. So anyway, so this week I decided to talk about stabilizers. And the reason why I chose this is because the last video that I had posted was about embroidering the cuffs of dress shirts. And when I was embroidering the cuffs of dress shirts, I was actually using sticky stabilizer. And I was also showing you guys a little trick that I do just to save money on stabilizers as well. So if you didn't catch that, check it in the channel. It's where I went and I embroidered the initials on the cuffs of dress shirts. And I used a sticky stabilizer, and I kind of gave you guys a little tip about, not ripping out the whole stabilizer and then just putting stabilizer in the little spot. And that's going to save you a lot of money. So this is really going to be a really helpful embroidery happy hour for those folks that are very, very new to embroidery and have lots of questions about stabilizers, okay? Now, let's start from the very beginning. What is stabilizer? What is it? Why do we use it? And what is it good for? All right, so first of all, one of the things that a lot of people do from the very beginning when they start embroidering, myself included, is you hear the word stabilizer. So you go and you just buy a pack. Sometimes you don't even know what you're buying, why you're buying it, but you just get it. You just get it because everybody that does embroidery, you watch them, and what they do is they have three main things, okay? They got the machine, they got the thread, and they get the stabilizer. Now, the machine comes with the hoop, so don't think I forgot about the hoop, but usually when you buy a machine, you get the hoop that comes with the machine, okay? So those are really the major components to actually do machine embroidery. But one of the most confusing components is the stabilizer. Now, why do we need it? The stabilizer is what actually stabilizes the thread with the fabric, and it actually helps you when you are doing embroidery. It prevents a lot of things, especially if you're using the right type with the right type of design and also the fabric, okay? Without the stabilizer, what happens is you can end up getting a lot of puckering, and you can also end up having your design misaligned when you are embroidering. So basically, the stabilizer, if you think about the word, is to provide stability, right? It's providing you stability between the fabric and the thread. All right, so there's so many different types of stabilizers, but there are two main ones, okay? One is Cutaway, one is Tearaway. And the way that I remember what to use what is if you wash it, you don't tear it. Why is that? Washable fabric, okay, fabric that has any type of stretch on it, you should never use tearaway stabilizer because the fabric stretches in different directions and you're going to wash it. It's going to need that stabilizer to stay in place forever for the life of the fabric, so that way that the embroidery doesn't get distorted in any type of way, okay? Now, if you have a piece of fabric that doesn't stretch at all, chances are tearaway stabilizer is going to do the trick, okay? You can use Cutaway if you want, but the thing is that item most likely is probably not going to go in the wash that much. And not only that, it's not really going to move that much either, okay? So the chances of the design being distorted is probably minimal. And I'm saying probably, okay, because that's not true for everything. You just gotta, as you do embroidery in time, you're gonna end up finding out what to use and where. So one of the things that I did this week was I decided I'm gonna Google stabilizers, and I'm going to look at the different types of most popular stabilizer. And then I said, you know what? Let me go through my own stash as well and talk to you about what stabilizers I have, why I bought it, and what I used it for. So I figured that this would be a really good good hour for us to just explore this topic so that we get to learn about stabilizers a little bit more. And if you in the chat have been embroidering for some time and you guys have like a particular stabilizer that you use, or if I say something that you kind of do different, put it in the chat, because the thing is, not everybody does everything the same way, right? Sometimes something that could work for me might work differently for you, or maybe you have a better solution than what I recommend. Okay. I always love learning from other people. So so don't be shy and make sure that you include in the chat what is it that you use whenever I'm talking about something. All right, so here we go. Now, one of the things that I was talking about for the very beginning is I told you, about stabilizer. Now, the what we use it for and stuff. Now, is stabilizer really important? You bet believe it is, okay? If you want to be able to do quality embroidery, you're gonna need stabilizer. You truly, truly, truly are, okay? Now, is it something that people try to skip on? Absolutely. I'm just as frugal as everybody else. So if there is an opportunity for me to do some type of embroidery and not have to use any stabilizer, I will try to go for it. Okay. Now, has that worked for me every time? No. I ended up learning the hard way at certain occasions that, you know what, Jeanette, like it or not, you're just gonna have to use stabilizer, because it really provides a much healthier looking stitch out. So, you want to make sure that, you use it. And if you do skip on the stabilizer, just make sure that it's going to come out okay. All right. So, the first thing I have here, and I have all my notes, I got back and forward. So, let's go down the list and I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit about it. Okay. Now you got to understand the types of different stabilizers. Let's talk about the tearaway for a while, okay? Now the tearaway is usually best for woven fabrics, fabrics that don't have a stretch, or are like canvas, quilted fabrics, or towels, okay? That is. Let me see, tearaway stabilizer. Where is my tearaway stabilizer? I usually have two types, okay? Now, I usually like buying my stabilizer like this in a roll. All right. There's a reason for it. Sometimes what happens when you buy the pre-cut stabilizer, you're paying a little bit extra money, and sometimes you really don't need the same size all the time. So I sometimes like to buy the roll. Okay. I usually have the roll, but there is a particular size that I use all the time religiously. Okay. So then I go ahead and I buy these. This is another type of stabilizer. And these I do buy pre-cut, because these are the ones that I often use for like kitchen towels or bath towels and stuff like that. So this is usually my popular size. And let me tell you exactly what size it is. I got all this stuff all over my ruler, but I can tell you, because I usually, what happens is I just do reorder and I don't really pay attention to the size. I do know that it is the size though, but I'm going to tell you right now, it is a 9x12. Yes. So these are 9x12 sheets, and these are tearaway. Use them all the time. And so these are really like this size plus the 8x8 are really the only two sizes that I find for me, for what I do, works. Okay. Now, when it comes to the 8x8, these are the ones that I like to purchase. Okay. And I get them from New Embroidery. And this is the Cutaway. And then here is the tearaway. All right. Now, what do I use these for? These I usually use for dinner napkins or small projects. Okay. So, I usually use, like I said, the 9x, I think it was 9x12, or I think it's probably 9x13. Let me double check. Nope, it's 9x12, 9x12, and the 8x8. Okay. But let's talk a little bit more about the tearaway stabilizer. Okay. Now, tearaway stabilizer, like I said, if you have a type of particular fabric and there is absolutely like no stretch on it, like let's say you have a jean jacket and stuff like that. Canvas, if you have a bath towel, I usually do tearaway stabilizer on those as well. And what I like about it is that you just put it behind your item. If you want, you can float on top of it, depending on how you hoop it. But it's really good, for those type of projects. Now, the second one, let's talk about the cutaway. The cutaway is very, very popular, especially when it comes to clothing, okay? Because sometimes when you look at the fabric that is used for clothing, it has like a little stretch to it, right? So, like for instance, look at the shirt that I'm wearing. If I go like this, you notice that there is a little bit of stretch on here. And sometimes they have a stretch on one direction, or like right here, I don't feel too much of a stretch. But when I go this way, you see I can stretch it a lot. For this type of fabric, you're gonna want to use cutaway. And I also buy those really in two types. Okay. I also go and I buy the round one, which I have right here, and I'll show you. Okay, this is cutaway. Okay. And I buy these in the round as well. So I usually have like this. This is tearaway, this is cutaway. And let me show you guys something too that I started doing recently. If you guys buy the big rolls, sometimes you have them open like that, and then it's like you just don't. I don't have pins with me, but let me show you what I do. This chair's getting a little bit uncomfortable. I think I need a new cushion. Look, and what this is these little pins. Whenever you go and you buy fabric, you kind of see that people take the pins and they go and they just go like this with the fabric. Well, I've been doing this with the stabilizer, with the rolls. I feel like it really keeps the roll neat, and it doesn't, you don't have the roll opening like this. Okay. Now I do have some labels that Miss Banks had made for me, and I do use them. So if you want, you can also make stuff just like this. She created labels for me, and they have elastic. See, now here's like cloud cover. Here she did one with wash away. This is for the sticky back. And what I like about this is that, you can just put this on here, and then you can just wrap it around, right? And these kind of keep your stabilizer kind of neat. The thing is, I have stretched these so much that the elastic is kind of like really like sticky. So I kind of like have to, push it back. See? So I think I overstretched these a little bit. So now I have to kind of resort to the pin. So I've been doing that lately instead of using her stuff. I think what I'm going to do though is I'll probably make more of these, and then I can just take the name and I can just pin this to this, like that. That's what I was thinking of doing. So I don't know. I'll see what I can do and stuff, because I want to keep using them because they were a gift and they mean a lot to me. So all right, so got off track. Okay, started talking about labels. All right, so let's go back to man, I am really uncomfortable in this chair. I don't know what it is. I think I really need another chair. Okay, so cutaway, guys. Cutaways, if you have clothes that you're gonna wash a lot, then what I recommend you do is you use the cutaway. The cutaway needs to stay there forever. Okay. Remember, tearaway is paper, all right, and it's going to dissolve in the wash, and before you know it's going to go away. So the stability is not going to be there forever. However, though, because you wash clothes often, then what ends up happening is the tearaway is going to dissolve. I think I may have said something wrong. I think I did. What I meant by cutaway stays forever. Okay, think of cutaway as a piece of fabric. You're adding fabric to fabric. There you go. You can wash it all you want. It's not going to go away. Tearaway's paper. If you take a piece of paper and you put it in water, you're going to see it gets real soft and everything. Then it starts to rip apart and it'll go away. So think of it that way, okay? So that's how I usually remember things. So whenever I am looking at a project and I look at the fabric, the first thing that goes through my mind that I ask myself is that, you know, what kind of stability is this fabric going to need? Okay. How is this fabric going to be used? Is it going to be washed a lot? If you have something like a jean jackets are washed, but they're not washed all the time. They're not probably going to be washed on a weekly basis, maybe like once a couple of months or something like that. So tearaway will probably be good for that. But if you have something that's going to be washed daily, that's when cutaway really comes into play. Okay. There's also another one that's called wash away. Okay. And usually that is more like, let's see, like this. This is water soluble stabilizer. This is more like a topper. Okay. This dissolves in the wash. And usually this is used when not at the back of an item, but on top of the item. And usually this is used because you want the thread to have some kind of lift. Okay. Now, there is something that people need to be aware of regarding washable soluble stabilizer, the topper. Okay. It does provide a lift. However, do realize, think of the name. It says water soluble, which means water hits it, it goes away. So that lift is just temporary. It's not a permanent lift. So if you have fabric that has like a lot of fuzz, like for instance, a bath towel, you can use this, but what's going to happen is when you take it out of the machine, it may look nice. But as the person starts to use the towel and starts to wash it, that soluble stable topper that you have between the top of the towel and underneath those stitches is going to go away. And then what happens is the stitches will actually start to sink, which is why I kind of tell people, be careful when you are selecting the items that you need to use for your project. Okay. If you have a towel that is pretty thick and the customer does not want to use knockdown stitches, what I highly recommend you do is pick a design that will flatten as much of the embroidery area as possible. Or if you're going to be using fonts, make sure you're using thick fonts. Don't use thin fonts. Thin fonts will sink into the towel. Okay. So you have to think about that. So I know that stabilizers is one of the most difficult areas of embroidery. And the reason why I say that is because there's so many different stabilizers out there. You can get stabilizers from almost anywhere. Lots of companies have them, and there's different types of textures. There's different types of sizes, and everybody, under the sun has some type of different stabilizer, right? Now, there are some basic colors too that stabilizers usually come in. The most popular is the white, but you can get them in black as well. Okay. Oh, I think I dropped something. Mello. And I think Mello got it. Hold on 1 minute. Mello, come here. What'd you get? Can I have it back? What did you get? Oh, boy. Oh, there you go. Okay. Thank you. He got my thing. Okay, so this fell. I wanted to make sure because sometimes Mello thinks things are toys and they're not. And right now he's here and he's looking at me going, "You took my toy. How dare you take my toy?" This is not a toy. I'm sorry, Papa. Okay, so all right. I'm all over the place today, guys. All right, so they could usually, let's talk about the colors. They usually come mostly in white. Sometimes you can get them in black. And then I have seen lately that sometimes people have them in the nude color. You don't see them often, but I have seen them every now and then. I've never purchased a nude. I always get either the white or the black if the black is available. I use the black for dark color fabrics. Okay. So, but I mostly use the white. It's usually is very popular and stuff. So, all right. So I want to go down my list because if I don't go down the list religiously, I'm going to go all over the place and then I'm just going to confuse you guys. Okay. So we talked a little bit about the tearaway, right? And I told you guys, if you're going to wash it, that's not what you use. You usually use it for items that you're not going to wash. Okay. Now the cutaway, I did tell you guys, that is mostly for clothes. Any type of stretch you have in your fabric, you should be using cutaway. Okay. Now, but a little bit staying on the tearaway and especially the cutaway piece, okay? There are going to be times when sometimes you see certain embroiderers use, you know, 2 or even 3 sheets of stabilizer when they are doing some type of embroidery. And you might ask yourself, why do they do that? Why don't they just use 1 sheet? The amount of the amount of stabilizer that you will need for your embroidery will actually depend on 2 things: the type of fabric that you're embroidering on, and also how dense your design is. If you have fabric that is very thin, and then you notice that the design is pretty dense, you may want to consider using 2 sheets of cutaway stabilizer. Okay. However, though, knowing this, you also want to look at the see-through test. Now, what the heck are you talking about? A see-through test. Well, what I mean by that is pick up the shirt, put the stabilizer against it, and look at it. Or can you see the stabilizer through the fabric? And if you can, then I don't even recommend using that stabilizer at all, because what's going to happen is that means that fabric is too light. And even though the embroidery may come out beautiful, you're going to see the outline of the stabilizer underneath. That's not going to be pretty attractive. Okay. So in that situation, that's when people go to a stabilizer that's called no-show mesh. Now, no-show mesh, I have it here. Oh, now I'm going to try to be gentle here because I don't want to mess up my stuff. Okay. This is no-show mesh. All right. And the reason why I bought this stick is because this is something that I do. Sometimes you buy stabilizer, and what happens is you take the plastic off, then you don't even know what it is. This is a little trick that I do, okay? You take the stabilizer, okay? You unwrap it. Take the plastic that you unwrapped it, okay? That has the actual label of what it is, okay? See? This is what it is. And then what you do is just fold it up, and then you just put it inside here. That way you remember what it is that you got. And especially if it's a stabilizer that when you started using, you end up liking it, you don't want to throw it out and then go, shoot, what brand was it or anything like that? I don't even remember, because you buy a lot of stuff. So all you have to do is just look at the plastic that's inside and you'll see what this is. Okay. So this is called fusible mesh embroidery stabilizer, and I'll put that in here so you guys can see. Okay, this is this stabilizer, and I'm going to take the pins out. See, I put the little pins for this so that way it holds it in place. So I will take this out so we can take a look at it. Okay, took that one out. Okay, and I want you guys to see. Now, I don't know if you guys noticed, but see how sheer it is? Okay, you may look at this and see how sheer it is and then say to yourself, oh my God, does that hold anything? It sure does. Let me tell you, this is really, really cool. What I like about this one is this, I don't know if you can tell, this side is pretty shiny. Okay, I think you still see a little spark in here. This is the side that's not. This has adhesive on it, right? So I can just take a iron and I can just iron this on the product, and then once I am done embroidering on it, then I can peel off away from the shirt and then cut around it. And then when you look at the shirt, you're not barely going to be able to see the stabilizer underneath the shirt. So they actually call this like no show, and it's very, very sheer, very, very light, but it's very, very strong. Okay. And one of the things, I don't know if you can tell right up front, I'm going to try to put as close as possible. No, I don't think you can tell this way. Let me see. I don't know if you can tell, but as you can see, oh, there you go. You can see it has like little crosshairs. See how it has little crosshairs there? It just goes little crosshairs. All right. So you see those little X's and stuff like that? It's really, really good. And when it does the embroidery, it does excellent work. It really does. So this is something that I really, really like. So and all the stabilizers that I have that I'm showing you guys, I usually buy my stabilizers a lot from Amazon. They seem to do the trick. Uh what is it? Allstitch.com has some great stabilizers as well that I've used from them. So that does pretty good also. So no show is really, really good. They also have, I wanted to show you another one. Now I'm just going, you know what? I'm just going to show you guys what I got. Okay. I'm going to show you what I use. All right. Let's just do that. I know I'm a little all over the place, but hey, we just hanging out, right? Okay. So, all right. So sticky stabilizer. This is sticky stabilizer. And I got to tell you, I love this stabilizer. If you saw the video that I last posted, which was the dress shirts, right? This is the stabilizer that I use, which is sticky stabilizer. And I really like this because you kind of put the item on there. Now, one thing, you put the fabric on here, and because it has adhesive, it really takes a really good hold of the fabric and it won't shift anywhere. However, though, there is a little downside, okay? Because not everything in life is cherries and cream, right? Sometimes what happens is if you press the fabric down to these things too hard, it can be pretty difficult to take off. All right. Now you can take it off with water. All right. But the thing is, sometimes a lot of people don't like that. They don't like, that when they take, they try to remove it. It's not exactly sometimes very easy to remove, even with the water. And people kind of get a little bit upset about that, which is understandable. I know I'm putting the wrong label on here. I'll just do it the other way. So that way I know it's not wash away though. Which is understandable. You know what I'm saying? However, though, there is another trick that you guys can do if you don't like using the sticky stabilizer. One of the things that I recommend that people do, if the sticky stabilizer is not for you and you just don't like that residue that it leaves, or you just press it down too hard and then it comes off, it's just difficult to take off. Another thing you can do is just use regular tearaway, use temporary spray adhesive. Okay, I use this one, KK2000, but another very popular brand is the 505. Okay, just take this, spray it on your tearaway stabilizer, and you can place your fabric on there. Okay, and it works just as good. Okay, it works just as good. And not only that, it's easier to come off. So it all really depends on your preference. Okay, I actually do well with the sticky stabilizer, but I use this method as well. So, you can't go wrong with either one. All right. And the other thing too is maybe now that we're thinking about it, because you guys know that I don't just like to tell you guys about the process, I also like to tell you how to save money as well. I don't know. I mean, because I am able to use the temporary spray adhesive with the tearaway, then the question should be, is sticky stabilizer really, really necessary? Right? So my answer to that is, for certain projects, no. For other projects, yeah. Like I will say, the video where I actually did the embroidery on the cuffs of the dress shirts, highly recommend sticky stabilizer, for the simple fact that you can't afford for that to shift. Okay. So you may end up spraying the tearaway stabilizer. But if you're not careful, that fabric can shift, and if it shifts, it's going to mess up your embroidery. Okay, and that is one thing you don't want to do, especially on the dress shirts. It can be pretty expensive. Okay, so yeah, so it's just something that I wanted to mention and stuff like that. Now let me see, while I'm going through here, let me see what else did I find in here that was pretty interesting and stuff. Okay, so one of the things in this article, there were 4 things, nope, 5 things, okay, that they said that was really important for you to really understand when we're talking stabilizer. The first thing was understanding the different types of stabilizers that are out there, okay? And we've already talked about a little bit. We talked about the Cutaway, we talked about the tearaway, we talked about the sticky stabilizer. I talked to you guys about the no-show mesh. There is also there's tons of others as well. The topper, I talked to you guys about the topper as well. The other thing, number 2, they talk about is consider the fabric properties. Okay, when you are choosing your stabilizer, do you have woven fabrics? That's where you want to use the tearaway for the stability. If you had knitted fabrics, you want to use Cutaway or a heavy tearaway. Sheer fabrics, use wash away. Stretchy fabrics, use Cutaway. Okay, and then they also said you want to think about the design. Okay, if you are, if you're going to embroider a particular design and you find that the design is pretty dense, that's where you want to actually use heavy stabilizer. Stabilizers also come in different weights. One of the things that I do is I always purchase the medium weight. Okay, if I see that I have a design that is pretty dense, okay, and it requires a heavy stabilizer, all I do is I just double up the sheets on my stabilizer. Instead of using 1 sheet of Cutaway, I will use 2 sheets of Cutaway, and I call it the day, and it works out just great. The reason why I do that is because I feel that in the long run I save more money that way, because you could end up spending a lot of money. Stabilizer is not cheap, okay? So you could get light, medium, heavy. And then what happens is you're going to have Cutaway stabilizer in 3 different weights, and then you may end up using the light or the medium a lot more often than the heavy. So for me, I find that the medium weight is a really good balance, because the lightweight is like, if it's light, it's if I need a light stabilizer, I could either use a tearaway or I could just use 1 sheet of the medium weight. But if I find that I have a design that is like really, really dense and really, really thick, and it needs that extra stability, that's when I'll just come out and I'll just double up on the stabilizer sheet. Okay, I just feel that it just makes it simple, because that way I'm just buying 1 weight and I don't have like more things that I have to store. But that's just how I do it. Okay, now when it talks a lot about the designs of the clothing, when you're thinking about your design, it says freestanding lace. I know a lot of people like to use freestanding lace designs. Those make beautiful ornaments and stuff like that. In that situation, you would want to use like wash away stabilizer or water soluble stabilizer, like the one that I just showed you, like this. This is perfect for those type of designs. And they also talk about the designs on clothing. Consider the comfort and the appearance of the stabilizer after embroidery. And that is exactly what I was talking to you guys about when I was saying, hey, if you have a piece of fabric and it looks like it's a little sheer, take the stabilizer, put it inside the clothing, hold it against the light, just hold it up and take a look at it and see, can you see the stabilizer through that fabric? If you can, that means that you may need a light stabilizer, or or maybe you should just select no show mesh, and stuff. The other thing that they talk about is the tips of using stabilizers. Always test a small piece of stabilizer with your fabric before starting your project. The reason is that sometimes picking a stabilizer can be a little tricky. Sometimes you can pick a stabilizer and you think it'll work just fine, okay? And then what ends up happening is when you actually do the embroidery, you could end up finding out, oh, maybe I should have added another sheet of stabilizer, or maybe I should have used no-show mesh or something like that. So if you have the ability to test a design, then that I would say do that. Okay. Usually I do the testing of the design when I am doing a test stitch of the embroidery file that I get for a customer. Whenever I go and I get a design embroidered, I mean, a design digitized, I always like to do the test stitch. But at the same time, while I am test stitching the design, I also am kind of checking to make sure that I'm using the right stabilizer with that design as well. Once I have that test stitch out complete, where it actually shows how the design looks and the stabilizer, that I know I'm golden and I'm ready to rock and roll. Okay. So it is really important that if you are in doubt about what stabilizer you should be using for a particular project, it's a good chance that you would be more successful if you took the time to test it. Now, I know that that's not popular with a lot of people, because a lot of times people say, I want to skip the test. I just want to go jump right in and do the product. The problem with that is that if you skip the test, you can't complain when stuff starts to go wrong, and blanks cost money. So, make sure that you have full understanding of that. And, you're gonna, and hopefully if you do skip the test, you're always perfect and you don't have no regrets. But I know there have been times when I have gotten lazy and said, you know what, I don't even want to test it. I know it's perfect. I'm good. I get overconfident and I turn on that machine, and then when it comes out, it looks all jacked up, and I'm like, thank God, I have time to go replace that product or something, and the customer doesn't see how I jacked it up. So, I have always conditioned myself to test. And once I know that it is golden, that's when I process the order. It's a really, really good way to make sure that you're going to be successful in every single project that walks out of your shop. So it's just, something to think about. All right. So then it also says examples of stabilizer usage. Okay. And it talks about the t-shirts. T-shirts should use medium or heavy weight. Tearaway. It says right here. Cutaway. It does. Sorry, my eyes. Okay, so t-shirts, medium or heavy cutaway. Because I was ready to say that don't sound right. I thought it said tearaway, but no, it doesn't. It says cutaway. Okay, denim, heavy cutaway. Okay, or tearaway or wash away. Hats, medium or heavy tearaway. Sheer fabrics, wash away or water soluble or no-show mesh. Knits, medium to heavy cutaway. Now, also the one thing that I wanted to talk about is what happens if you decide that you just don't want to use any stabilizer. Okay, you just don't want to do it. You don't want to spend the money. You don't think it's worth it, and you don't even think it's going to make a difference, right? What are the things that's going to happen to your design when you're done? All right, well, hopefully, okay, if you decide to go that route, hopefully nothing ever happens and all your stuff looks great. But I will say this, I mean, there's a purpose for stabilizer. It truly, really, truly is. And there is a reason why people should be using it. And if you don't use it, chances are you're going to have some issues. Let me talk to you guys about some of the issues that you're going to have, because I went and I was able to research it, and I know from experience I've had some of these issues, and I'm like, it is. It's because I either did not use the stabilizer because I decided to just be cheap, or I just used the wrong one. All right, now the first one, it talks about puckering and distortion. Okay, usually what happens is that the stabilizer is too strong or it's not suited to the fabric, and it can cause the fabric to to pucker or distort around the embroidery, resulting in an uneven appearance. And that is so true. It's like I know you guys have heard me say the phrase, you want your embroidery to look crisp and clean. Okay. You really want it to look really, really nice. And, you don't want any distortion. You don't want any puckering. And you have even heard me say in the past, there are certain particular fabrics that I am not a fan of embroidery on. Like, for instance, satin and silk. Hate those two. Can I do it? Yeah. Do I want to? No. And it's for a reason, okay? Because they are really difficult. They're very, very slippery materials. You got to make sure that they are hooped correctly. You got to make sure that you're embroidering super slow, because you want to watch every single stitch, because you need it to come out really, really nice. They are not easy to embroider on. If you are out there and you can embroider on silk and satin like there's no tomorrow, my hat is off to you. I can't, okay? I have to watch that sucker very closely, okay? The other thing that you will also have is mismatched stitches and uneven outlines, okay? And why is that? Because you're using the wrong stabilizer, the fabric will shift, okay? And here it talks about an incorrect stabilizer can also lead to mismatched stitches and uneven outlines, making the design look poorly executed because the fabric shifts, okay? And then it says, the design shift and misalignment. If the stabilizer does not provide enough support, the design can shift and move around the stitching, and it causes the misalignment. You're going to have stitching issues. And then the fabric can also become damaged over time. Okay, so because it's too harsh or too abrasive. So, it is important. You have to know the different types of stabilizers. And this isn't easy, guys, because there are so many different types of stabilizers out there. There's so many different types of brands. And there's stabilizers for everything. I even have stabilizers for hats, which let me show you right now. I got these off of this is another stabilizer that I use. These are for hats. These are tearaway. And I will tell you, one pack will last you a long time because I don't usually use the whole sheet, okay? These all come in sheets like this. And, usually what I do is I just take a sheet and I fold it in half and I cut it, and one of these, I can embroider 2 hats, because if you notice, it's only the front. Okay. Now, if you're going to embroider the whole hat, then, and you're going to go from side all the way to side, then yeah, you're going to need the, it's hot in here. You're going to need the whole sheet, but I usually just embroider the front. Oh, here it is. I usually just embroider the front. I put this sucker on high. Woo. Okay. Woo. Okay. Sorry. So then, so these last me a long time because I just cut it in half and then I use half of this. Oh, the fan feels good. All right. So, yeah. So let me go through all of these, and let me also show you something else that I do. Okay. A little tip for you guys. Stabilizer can be pretty expensive. Okay, it really can. It can run you some money. Oh, I forgot to put this back where it belongs. Here we go. All right. It can run you a pretty penny. Okay. So let me show you something that I do. Usually, look at this. Okay. This may look a little messy to you, but there's something to this madness here. These are scraps of stabilizers. You have no idea how many times I go through these scraps, find the stabilizer that I need, and I don't even have to go to any of my rolls. Okay. So if I have something small, I can just say, let me go through here, and I keep them nice and neat. See how they're all clipped? So I'll go to each of these sections. Look, I even have my twill for patches in here, because sometimes I had just cut a big piece. See, I could do another patch on here and all that kind of stuff. This is Sticky Stabilizer in black. Okay, here I have some tearaway stabilizer, you know, tearaway, cutaway, and I put them all together and I just clip them like this, okay? And when I have like a very small project and I need stabilizer, one of the things that I do is I go through my little clips, okay? And then I go and say, hey, is there like a piece of cutaway or tearaway stabilizer that kind of can fit the bill, right? And then I'll just go through all of these, okay? And some of these I even have, like, remember how I told you with the hat stabilizer that I cut these in half, right? So what I'll do is I'll cut it in half. And if I have an extra, I'll put it in here. Okay, so that the next time I go to cut a hat or something, that I can just go in here and I can just use that sheet. I don't go in and use a brand new roll and stuff like that. So keep your scraps, or get like a little box or something like that. And then when you have little scraps and stuff, put them in there, and then you can run through there. And if you see a piece of stabilizer that you could use, then you don't have to go to your big rolls and stuff. Leave these nice and neat, because you want to get the best bang for your buck. Okay, even no show mesh. Look at that. I even have twill in here and stuff, and I use all of these. Look, and some of them are kind of cut up, but the thing is, you never know. I could end up with a really small project, right? I can end up with a small project, and then I can just use it, okay? So don't throw your stuff away, and stuff. And if you saw the video where I did the dress shirts, you saw how I had sticky stabilizer on the hoop. And I just took little pieces of sticky stabilizer, and I just went and I just filled in that hole, and then I just reused the rest of that. And I just kept using the same stabilizer over and over again. And I did 8 dress shirts, and I saved a lot of money on stabilizers. You don't want to just go ahead and rip all the stabilizer out and then put a fresh sheet all the time. You're going to waste a lot of money and stuff like that. So, you want to make sure you get the best bang for your buck, especially when everything is going up. Okay. So, yeah, let me get some water here. My throat's been dry all day. Okay. So let me go through my little stash here, okay? We went through the cutaway. We went through the tearaway. I showed you guys the no-show mesh. This is sticky stabilizer right here, okay? Now, as you can see, I'm running low on the sticky stabilizer. So because I was running low on the sticky stabilizer, I went and I bought another roll of the sticky stabilizer, okay? This is the same thing, and this isn't open because I have this. I showed you guys my no-show mesh. This is my water-soluble topper, okay? I usually keep this in here because when I'm hooping, I usually do that on top. Another thing, let me show you guys this one too. This is cloud cover, okay? Some of you guys, I remember once some of you guys asked me, do you cover the back of your embroidery? Yes and no, okay? When I am giving something to like a child or something like that, I usually cover the back of the embroidery with Tender Touch or cloud cover, okay? This is the cloud cover. I like the cloud cover because this one comes in black, okay? And in certain projects, like a golf towel or something like that, just so that it looks neater, I'll use this in back of a golf towel, and also depending on the color, okay, as well. Sometimes I use it, sometimes I don't. But when I am doing polo shirts for businesses and stuff like that, I don't really use anything in behind. They don't really care about that, and stuff, unless they ask. And if they do ask, I always tell them there is an additional cost to that, because of course there's extra material involved and all that kind of stuff. Now, this is tearaway, and this is tearaway in black. Okay, you can get this in black. And I usually if I find that something comes in the 2 colors, black and white, I'll usually buy more white, but I will buy at least one roll of the black, because and I believe, yep, I think this is tearaway because I could feel it like it's tearaway, but let's see. Um, is it? Yep, it's black tearaway embroidery stabilizer, medium weight. And this is from the brother. I like this brand. It works for me. It works for me. And I get these right off of Amazon, and they work for me. I need to put pins on this also. This is tearaway, but I'll just put let's see, I'll just put this right here. But I'll just turn it around. It's not sticky stabilizer or anything like that, so I'll just turn this around. It's just that I've used these so much that I stretched the elastic. So now it's like, okay. So there you go. So this works. Oh yeah, another thing, and then I showed you guys the hat. I showed you guys the eight and the size that I get. These are the 8x8s in the cutaway and the tearaway. I use these a lot for especially the cutaway. The tearaway I use for the dinner napkins. The cutaway I use for the polo shirts and stuff like that when I do logos for small businesses. And these are the ones that I use. These size. I use that. I showed you guys this. I did have something else behind here. This I bought and I have not used this yet, and I am pretty excited because I know pretty soon I am going to have time to use it. Okay. This came with an actual stand here. This is actually it's not twill, but this is sublimation. It's like sublimation twill. And I got this off of Amazon. It's paper, and I don't know if you can tell there's texture on it. I don't think you can tell on the camera. There you go. See the texture? This is sublimation. And the reason why I got this is because I was thinking, can I make sublimation patches? There are going to be times when sometimes you may have a customer that has a particular design. The font is just so small that it's just not going to be possible to do it with a embroidery machine. Okay. Because sometimes, it can be very difficult. You're going to have to really slow down that machine, and you're going to have to use the special weight thread and all that stuff. And, I wanted to see if I could sublimate this and then create patches out of this. But at the same time, before I even offer it, what I want to do is, because it feels, when I touch it, it's not cloth, but it's not too papery, right? So the thing that goes through my mind is the way it feels. It's like, this is how I think. Okay. If I offer this to people, okay, I can make a patch out of it. I could probably take the patch, put it on a hat, put it on a jacket. But what if somebody wants to put it on a piece of clothing that's going to be washed a lot, right? So what I want to do is, I have some old shirts. So I want to create a patch using this. Then I want to wash the shirt, put the patch on a shirt, and then wash it several times, right? And just see the length, how long this is going to last. All right. If I see that this lasts a pretty long time, then I'll know exactly how I should be using this. And, or when I tell the customer that this is an option that they can have, that they can, but what the expectations should be, right? I don't want to sell them something and let them think that it's something that's going to last forever. And then they go and they take it home, and then they want, they take a patch, they put it on a jacket, and then it just looks terrible after a couple of washes. The other thing that kind of concerns me a little bit about sublimation is ink, right? It's not like embroidery. With embroidery, you buy the thread, and what ends up happening is the color on the thread kind of maintains its integrity, right? So it always kind of looks nice. I haven't heard anybody complain to me about the color of their thread fading. However, though, I have heard people complain about shirts that are made with sublimation, where they at first, when you put it on the shirt, it looks beautiful, and then after a couple of washes, you start seeing that the bright red is no longer bright anymore, or the blue's not as blue. The color starts to fade. So I am also worried about that regarding this for patches as well. Okay. If I do that, am I going to have color fading? All right. Or is this going to, once it gets wet too many times and dry too many times, because it feels kind of papery, but not quite. Okay. So it could be like a papery type of fabric, but I'm not sure. So I just want to make sure that that I know how this is going to work. Okay, I don't want to tell my customer that this is the greatest thing under the sun, and then all of a sudden I sell it to them, and and I do a project for them, and they're wearing it, and they're outside, and then all of a sudden it starts falling apart, right? Because like I said, when things walk out of here, I want it to represent me as well. All right. So I'm also going to go down here. There's another stabilizer I want to show you guys. This is a stabilizer that I got from All Stitch. Okay. And it's a pro stabilizer. I will tell you this. I kind of really like this stabilizer a lot. I feel that it does extremely, extremely well, especially with dense designs and on polo shirts and everything. One of the things about the stabilizer is I want you to take a look at it real close. Look at those fibers that are in there. I don't know what it is, but it's like it feels nice. And whenever I use this as a stabilizer, the design looks awesome. Okay. I am going to tell you this is a little bit on the pricey side. I've gotten it from allstitch.com, but I have to tell you it is one of my top favorites. And as you can see, I'm running low. I'm going to have to buy some more. I'm going to definitely have to buy some more. But it is great stabilizer. I love it. And, I'm just going to have to suck it up and just get some more. That's for sure. And maybe I should hurry up and get plenty more before anything. Another stabilizer also that has come to my attention from Miss Banks, and something that I like to buy from Joann's when Joann was around. And I'm going to have to figure out where I'm going to get these now, because I get this by the bulk. This is a tearaway stabilizer. And what I like about this is the fibers as well. Okay. The one that I showed you from All Stitch, that was Cutaway. Okay. That's a Cutaway one. This is not tearaway. It's Cutaway. But this is a tearaway. And let me show you guys what this is. This is a Penatone. There you go. Penatone. And it's called Easy Stitch 360. Okay. And let me show you the sheet. See that? And this is tearaway, and it makes it very easy for you to actually tear this away, because it's like perforated. So it's like so cool. So sometimes I like to use these even when I'm embroidering my hats. I will sometimes, if I don't want to take one of those sheets, I'll just take this and I'll just cut it, and I'll use this to put on my hat. And I really like the way this is. Now, this is a little bit on the heavy side. Okay. It's not exactly light. Okay. So when it comes to my towels and everything like that, I always use kind of like the papery tearaway. But when it comes to certain things like a jean jacket or, or a hat or something like that, this is the one that I like using it. Now, what I used to do back in the day when we used to have something called Joann's is I would wait for these things to go on sale, and I would go and buy the whole bulk. Okay. And the bulk would last me a long time. This last time I went to Joann's before they closed, and they did have one that was, but it was kind of like, half purchase. So I just told the lady I'll buy the rest of the bulk. So, I kind of bought them out. And I asked her, do you have any more in the back? And she was like, no. So I was like, all right. So I guess moving forward, I'm either going to have to see if Hobby Lobby has this, or if not, I may have to just buy it off of Amazon, which I'm sure Amazon will have it and stuff. But this one is really one of my favorites. I didn't know about this tearaway stabilizer until Miss Banks told me about it and stuff. And then I was like, oh, and I got actually hooked on it. I use this when I have jean jackets and stuff like that and everything. And I really like the way it feels. And I really love the way it tears also, because it is perforated. It makes it so easy for me to tear. So I got all my stabilizers out here. Oh my God. Okay, so let me see what else I got. Okay, all of those. All right, there is another stabilizer. Okay. Now, this one I have not used yet. I bought it, but I've heard great things about it. And I think I have this as just a spare. Okay. This is soluble heat stabilizer. And I also got this off of All Stitch. And let me see if should I take it out? Well, all right. Well, I think I should have took it out. Well, I need to undo it. But anyway, let me just take it out this way. As you can see, it's clear. Okay. Now, the way that this is works the same thing as water soluble stabilizer. You use it as a topper. However, the only difference is you take this away with your iron. You do not take this away with water, okay? It does not damage your iron or anything like that, because that was the first thing that went through my mind was, oh, great, I put this on, it's going to damage the iron. I've heard people use this and they love it. They say that you just take a hot iron and you put it over it and it like disappears. So I'm like, okay, but I only bought one and I have not really used it yet, but I've watched other people use it. So I kind of just have it as a spare. I've always just been using the water soluble stabilizer. And I think the only reason why I grab it is because it's more accessible of where I have it in my room. However, the one thing that I did notice is when I purchased this, okay, as you notice, there's not a lot. Right? There's not a lot in here. Okay. This is a very, very small amount. Okay. And this was pretty pricey. This was not cheap. So when I noticed that it has such a small amount, and then when I go and I look at my water soluble stabilizer and you see it's like a big chunk, I just feel like when I get the one with the water, it's just, you get more for your money. I feel like you get more for your money here than the heat. Okay. So I don't know what the prices are now. I know that this was just purchased a while ago. So I kind of have this like on the emergency side. And then I use this more often. So this is something that, that I kind of saw. Let me see. What else do I have in here? I think, I think the rest is all just spares. Because usually what I do, the way I have my stabilizers organized is, here, and I'll show you. Let me just take you over there so you can actually see. All right, so here it is. So this is the machine that I usually have all of my stabilizers. So the ones that you see at the bottom, those are all my spares. And then as you can see, the top is kind of empty. And the reason why it's empty is because I took them all out so that I can show you what I have. So usually what happens is, if I use this and then I see that I don't have any extra on the second row, then I'm like, okay, it's time for me to buy. And when I buy, I usually buy 2 packs. That way, I kind of like move from the bottom shelf to the up shelf. So that way I always make sure I have inventory, because the last thing you want to do is be working on an order or working on in the middle of a project, and all of a sudden you're like, oh great, now I don't have any stabilizer. That can be, because you need it. It's not something that you can skip. Okay. I mean, you can if you want to, but you may not like the outcome of it. You may not like the way it's going to come out. So I always make sure that I have stabilizers in stock. Okay. And I try to keep them as organized as possible. As you can see, I know right away what sticky stabilizer is. But in some the stabilizers where it can be kind of iffy, like I may not remember the brand or something like that, then what I do is I just take the wrapper like I showed you before, and then I just stick it in the tube and stuff. And that way you can always go back and you can say, okay, this was the brand and this is what I bought. And then you kind of know, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, so that's how I do that. So I'm gonna move this aside and I'm going to put this here and this here. And then I know we are up at the hour, and I'm gonna organize here a little bit because I got stuff all over the place. Oh, my thing came out. I noticed this came with like a stand too, which is kind of cute. You know, it came with like a little stand. I don't really think it needed it, but okay. It came with it. All right, so let me clean this area up a little bit that I have in front of me. And then I'm going to go through the chat and say hi to you guys. And I hope I shared something new with you guys. And you guys got it, and, and understood. I know I can ramble a little bit and stuff like that, but I am who I am. But it's just sometimes I'll start talking about something and I'll go, oh yeah, let me tell you this, let me tell you that, and stuff. And I always like to share little tips and stuff along the way and stuff to help you guys. So my throat is very, very dry today. It's been like this all day. So I don't think I drink enough water, but oh well. Okay, so let me. I lost you guys. Okay, I'm back. I'm back. Okay. Sorry, guys. Yep, my screen went blank. I hit something. That's one thing with computers. Sometimes it's like you hit something and all of a sudden it's like blah. But thankfully I was able to get back. And that would have been a short embroidery happy hour, that's for sure. Okay, so let me go down and say hi to you guys and stuff. Let's see. I see Tina. How you doing? I see Darlene, McFay, Nancy. How are you? What hoop do you use for the 9x12 tearaway? I usually use the 8x9 hoop. Sometimes I use the 9. No, I don't. I don't use the 9x13. When it comes to the 9x13, I usually use the roll, the stabilizer that I have in the roll. That's why sometimes I like to buy the stabilizer in the roll. Let me put the question up on there, Marlene. Sometimes that's another reason why sometimes I tell people I like buying the roll, okay? Because see, this is the thing with these, all right? Sometimes the projects have different sizes. Sometimes it's a different hoop, right? If you buy the pre-cut fabric is only going to fit like certain hoops, and it may not fit your bigger hoops, right? So when I have a 9x13 hoop, then I have this one that I'm touching right now is the cutaway, but I have the tearaway in this size too. So what happens is you just cut as much as you need for that hoop, okay? And then you're golden, right? So that's why I tell people don't just buy the pre-cut. It doesn't hurt to buy a roll as well, because sometimes you may have a project that requires a bigger sheet of stabilizer, so that way you can cut it how you need it and stuff. So when it comes to the 9x12 tearaway, I usually use it with my 8x9 hoop or my 5x7 hoop or any other hoop, but I won't use it for the big hoops because of course it's not going to fit, because I have a 9x13, so I prefer to use the roll, because remember your tearaway should be your stabilizer should overlap your hoop. However, though, if you use a mighty hoop, sometimes you don't need it to overlap the hoop, because the hoop itself will hold the fabric and the stabilizer in place. You just need to make sure that the area that you're going to embroider has that stabilizer on it. So I hope that helped, Marlene. Hey Beth and Chucky, how are you? I see Marlene McFaith, how are you? Okay. Are you aware that there are only a few companies that make stabilizers? Oh, and companies order and have their name put on the packaging. Yeah. And the same thing with the blanks, Marsha. The same thing with the blanks. And I'm going to tell you, there are a lot of companies, especially here, like, you buy your blanks, stabilizers, you buy the thread and all that kind of stuff. Anything that you buy, it usually comes from overseas. And then what happens is the companies overseas offer the service where they will brand the item with the company's name on it. Okay. So you'll see, a lot of people that sell blanks, all they do is they just get them from overseas and they have their labels put on them. And it's the same thing with the stabilizer, So if you can find actually a vendor that's overseas that sells the stabilizer, I mean, why even bother to buy it here? You know what I'm saying? Just because it has the name. I mean, stabilizer is stabilizer. So, and now, Marsha, you're starting to make me think, maybe I need to be going to Alibaba.com and seeing where can I get stabilizer from and then have them ship it to me, because it's probably going to be cheaper. But the other thing also, Marsha, is that when you buy from these companies overseas, you're not just buying one or two, you're actually buying a large quantity, right? So a lot of times what happens is these companies will go ahead and they will buy like 1,000 rolls and they'll have their names on it, and then they'll just resell it. But then the question has to go, like, do you need 1,000 rolls? If that's their minimum, right? Sometimes a company will say you have to buy 50 or you have to buy 20 or whatever, right? They have a minimum quantity that you have to buy. Because sometimes I get my stuff from overseas as well, and I have to meet that minimum quantity. So, it just really depends, right? So, and at the same time too, when you purchase them from overseas, you don't get them as quickly as if you were to buy it from somebody that already went through the process, right? So they bought it from overseas. They had to wait about like 2 or 3 months to get their item, unless they want to pay the extra to have it flown overnight or whatever, right? But the thing is, they have it already here. So the time wait for you is shorter, but you're going to be paying for that, right? Because you're going to be paying the company that did all the researching and getting it for you. So yeah, but there are only a few, but there's some, and there's different types and stuff. So you just have to kind of like look around and see what actually is the stabilizer that you like working with, like I said, like with sticky stabilizers, some people, it's either hate it or they don't. And then sticky stabilizers have different brands as well. I know this one is the one that I use. World Wiener is this is the brand that I use. Okay, and I get this off of Amazon. It works for me. There have been times though where sometimes it's hard to get it off, and then other times it wasn't. Now, I will say this. The times that I've experienced where the sticky stabilizer was very difficult to come off is usually because I really pressed hard on that fabric to really stay on that stabilizer. And usually I did it for a reason, because I didn't want that fabric to shift. But I would go ahead and I would press real hard and rub on it. So of course it's going to really, really stick. And then when I go to take it out, I might have some residue in the back. So I'm going to have to spend some time with some water to try to get that residue off of the back of the embroidery, So, but if you lay the fabric lightly on it, just enough to hold it in place and then just let the rest of the stitches do its work, then you should be okay, right? Taking it out really shouldn't be that much of a problem and stuff. And, and it also sometimes depends on the type of fabric that you put the sticky stabilizer on as well. Some fabrics stick onto this like glue, and other fabrics is a little easier to get it off. So it just depends. So it could be a love-hate thing with sticky stabilizer and stuff. So yeah. But okay, so I'm gonna keep going down. Hey Rita, I see Rita, I see Iris. Hey Emma Pearl, how are you? Okay, could you use a tog? You could use a toggler on the elastic of your stabilizer. That would work. A toddle. What's the toddle? Well, I do use this. I do use this sometimes. Like I'll have this. Remember when I told you guys about these little wristlets, right? You can actually use this and go like this as well, and put this on here. Hold on, let me see. Well, okay, this one's not working for me. I don't know why, but I think, but if sometimes they do. I think this one's a little cranky. I think I've used this one way too much, but see, it's not working exactly too great. So, all right, but I usually use the pins. I think the pins always work for me, and it does good. It holds it nice and neat. So it does okay. I sometimes you can just use a piece of Scotch tape too. Also, if you want to, just use Scotch tape and put it in place. But I like the pin. The pin usually works for me, so that's what I'm gonna do for it and stuff. But the elastic kind of like really it kind of overstretched for me, so I'm just like, okay. Hey Lady Green, how are you? Oh, Lady Gwen, sorry. Hey Nancy, how are you? Happy Friday. um let's see who else is here. Robin Quilt Basket is in the house. And Annette, how are you doing? How you doing? Um, let's see, going back. Let's see. We're watching and listening from the kitchen. Happy Easter. Yes, happy Easter to you too. Yeah, it's Easter weekend, everybody. Easter weekend. And I still have Easter baskets left over. I mean, I don't have as much. I have a lot of blues and I just have a couple of pinks. So I think what I'm going to do this weekend is I'm going to, because I have a lot of blues, probably going to embroider some Easter baskets for the men in my house, which is Cardito, Fred, and Mello. They're all boys. So I think I'm going to take 3 of those blue Easter baskets, embroider their name on it, and then I'm going to go this weekend and then just buy them all little treats and everything. And then I think I'm going to give them Easter baskets on Sunday. That way they don't really go to waste and we get to use them and stuff. But yeah, because the 5 and below baskets this year, I didn't sell as many as I thought. I mean, I sold some, but not that much. Yeah, so I don't know. But hey, it's okay. It's all right. I mean, you're not going to be 100 all the time, right? So, and I didn't like the colors that they had. Last year they had like light blue, light pink. This year they had 5 and below had the dark blue, the dark pink. I was kind of like, oh, I mean, they're okay. I just didn't like them too much though. That this year. Oh, look, that Mellows right here. He wants to hang. He wants to hang. Yeah, look at you. Look at that. Look at those eyes. The way he looks at me. Oh my goodness. He's mad at me because I'm back at work full time. So it's like he gets mad when I leave in the morning and then when I come back. But he's always waiting for me when I come back. Right, Boo Boo? You're always waiting for your mom. Yeah, look at that. Look at that face. Look at that face. He sat next to the stabilizers today to pose. Okay, so let me keep going. Yeah, and let's see. Lots of companies just put their name on items like sugar. It comes for the manufacturer that the company puts it. And there's all so many products out there like that. I remember my husband told me one of his coworkers used to work at a factory where they used to do the baby diapers, right? And he said the diapers were all the same and they would run the machines and they would have Huggies and then they would stop the machines and then change the labels and then they would pay Pampers and they would stop the machine and then put the other brands and the other brands, and it was all the same thing. So it was just like really funny when she told us the story, because then I was thinking to myself, so I guess name brand really is just all it is. It's just marketing, right? So I was just like, I mean, it really makes you change your perspective of things, But I do say though that sometimes Brands do matter a little bit too, because, like, for instance, cheese. Well, no, not true. Well, because I love my Kraft cheese, but sometimes Safeway cheese and Giant cheese and supermarket branding, it's just cheese. So I don't know. It's just weird. I think, it's just, you just gotta try to get the best bang for your buck. That's just how I see it. Um, let's see. On the no show, I have the New Brother can. Is there a right or a wrong side? They both feel the same. Okay, they probably are both the same. There's two types, Lady Gwen. They usually have no show stabilizer that have adhesive, and then there's some that don't have any adhesive. The one that has no adhesive, you're gonna notice there's no shine. So if you look on one side and the other side, they look exactly the same. So there's no front or back on that. If you look at the one like the one I have, which is this one. Okay, I don't know if you can really see it in the light, but I want to see if I can show it to you. This right here, as you see, it's kind of dull, right? This is the back, but right here, I don't know if the light will show. See how this shines? I don't know if you can really see it, but it's kind of shiny. It is. You'll see it. It shows a little shine in there. I don't know if you can see it. See how shiny it is. But then if I turn it over, you don't see any shine, right? So this is the adhesive side, okay? And this is not the brother type. This isn't the brother type. This no-show is called super. This is not brother. This is super stable. And yep. Okay, this is the one that I have. And this is the other thing too. When you buy your no-show mesh, the label should say if it has adhesive or not, right? Now, I'm going to put this a little close. You got to read the fine print. If you look at the second, which is like right here, it says this has, okay, the fusible, if you look at the very bottom, it says that it's special with the item, and it has the adhesive, right? So the adhesive, of course, is what goes towards the fabric. You iron it on, then you go ahead and you embroider it. But if you see that your no-show mesh doesn't have any adhesive, there is really no wrong or right side to it. You could just pin it or something and just use it, and you're good to go. And then when you're done embroidering, you just cut around the embroidery design. That's what you do. So yeah, I'm gonna put my pins back in, because I don't like leaving pins out, because sometimes Mello can walk around and I don't want him swallowing a pin, because that wouldn't be good. I don't want him to get hurt. Okay, so there. So here we go. All right, so there you go. That reminds me of when I was little. I swallowed a pin once. Drove my mom crazy and stuff. I was playing with it. It was a pin with a little ball on it, and I was putting it on the window screen, and then I was like blowing it in my mouth and then catching it with my lips. And then once I blew too hard and I kind of missed it and I swallowed it, and I had to go to the hospital, and bleh. It's terrible. They got it out though, or I wouldn't be here. Yeah. So, okay. So, let's see. Which would you recommend for cool, dry, and heavy design? For a cool, dry shirt and a heavy design, I use Cutaway. That's what I've always done. I have done a couple of videos where I do polo shirts, and they're the dry one. I just used the Cutaway. I do, and sometimes the design was heavy, and I used 2 sheets of the Cutaway. That's what I've done. Hey, Debbie. Yes, please. If you like today's topic, please hit that like button and stuff. It really helps the channel a lot. Thank you, Debbie. Oni 33. Oh my goodness. I always get the delay in the thumbs up. Hi, Eleanor. How you doing? Hey, Michelle Woods. How are you? How you doing? Hey, Sandy. Your shirt looks great. Like it's stitched out of tortillas. Oh, thank you. This is oh man, tie-dye. Tie-dye. This is from Cotton Comfort, something like that. I really don't like this brand shirts though. I will tell you that. I started getting them from the warehouse because Comfort Colors. Because I liked them and I thought they were pretty comfortable and everything. But one of the things that I noticed is they stain a lot. So if you drop food on these shirts, especially the sweatshirts, you put them in the washing machine, they don't wash off. So I'm gonna start looking for another brand. I don't like the Comfort Colors at all. It's not something that for me was like it's not working out. So oh well. No matter what, never pre-wash your water soluble stabilizer. Totally agree. Love your clippings of stabilizer scraps. I decided to buy a 7 1/4 mighty hoop instead of using my 9x8 for shirts. Now I have scraps for my 5 1/2 mighty hoop. Yeah, I always keep my scraps. I always keep, like I said, just get like a little bin or clip them together the way I do. And then whenever you're working on a project, go through the scraps and see if there's anything that you can use. So that way you can really save your money because stabilizers are expensive. They really, truly are. And it's really fun because when you think about it, you think about your threads, you think about the machine. I mean, stabilizers can be pricey, and especially the different types of stabilizers and how many sheets and all that kind of stuff. You can get the pre-cut, you can get the roll, you can get the yard, how much yards you want and stuff, and it can get really, really pricey and stuff. Hey, Mag Design, how are you? Is there a standard side for the left chest logos? Yes, there is. Usually the size that I use is 3x3. Okay, you don't want to go, you can go 3.5 by 3.5 if you want to, but it can get a little big. Okay, so usually I always do 3x3 for left chest logos all the time. Hey Rita, how you doing? Hey, had our contractor over, embroidery happy, have to watch the replay. Aw, have fun. Let's see. What is the material made from polyester? Well, for polyester is very, very stretchy. Okay, so I use Cutaway stabilizer for that. Okay. Let me see. So for that, I use Cutaway. Happy Easter. Tearaway looks great. Yeah, I love that with the perforated. I think that's like awesome. Let's see. Any other questions? Have you ever used Pattern Wash and Go from Joanne? That I have not used. I have only used the easy one and stuff. Joanne's gone. Joanne's gone now. So I'm gonna have to go to Hobby Lobby and see what they have for stabilizers. I think they do sell it. I'm not sure. I'm gonna have to go. You got enough stabilizer to hold our economy together. I have to make sure I don't run out, Bob. I do. I have to make sure. So I'm always watching my inventory because, I don't know if you heard the story, but there was one Christmas where I ran out of bobbins and I was going crazy looking for bobbins for my embroidery machines. And it was just terrible. And I told myself I will never go through that again. Never. So now it's like I check that inventory, and as soon as I see I'm low on bobbins, threads, stabilizers, blanks that I use a lot, I just go ahead and I just purchase. I mean, and I just stack it up and I make sure I track that inventory. I have to. Oh, don't forget heat and bond for applique pieces. Yes, heat and bond is the ones you should use is the light, but heat and bond, Rita, is really not um, really traditionally stabilizer. All it really is just adhesive that you're putting on fabric to stick to places. And then if you really think about it, even though the adhesive works to stick on the fabric, you're still embroidering the edges and stuff like that. So heat and bond is okay just to stick the stuff, but I would not use heat and bond as a replacement for stabilizer and stuff. But yeah, but I do use heat and bond. I use heat and bond light for the appliques. If you use the strong ones, you're gonna find that the applique design is very stiff. Because I remember once I used the strong heat and bond on applique, and it really wasn't very comfortable to wear because it was very, very stiff. So you want to use the light. Um, hey Elizabeth, how you doing? Hey Angela and Stitches, how are you? Um, see. Tip: when using stabilizer and hoop, pull towards the middle of the hoop when adjusting to keep from popping out of the frame. Yep. Yeah. And I try very minimal not to pull on the fabric when I'm hooping. Okay. Because this is the other thing too, since B. Berman mentioned this. I have seen sometimes where people will hoop a fabric, right? And didn't exactly hoop right. So what they do is instead of re-hooping the item, they will actually pull. They will pull on that fabric consecutively. They pull on it hard to get it nice and tight in there. I have a problem with that. When you're pulling on it, if it's okay to tug on it a little bit to get it settled in. But if you are pulling on that fabric a lot, then what's happening is you're overstretching the fabric inside that hoop. Then you're embroidering on it. And then when you unhoop it, it kind of like snaps back, right? So it's not going to be good. And because what can happen is your fabric can get distorted because you had took that fabric and you stretched the crap out of it. Then you embroidered it, and then when you unhoop it, it releases that fabric, and then it's trying to go back into a shape. And then next thing you know, you're kind of like, ooh, it looks distorted. I have puckering and stuff like that. So when you are hooping your fabric when you're hooping your fabric with the stabilizer, I always tell people, if you feel that you have to pull a lot on that fabric to get it to be where you want it, you should just rehoop all over again. That means you just didn't get the hooping right. I mean, it's okay to give it a little bit of a tug, but if you are really tugging away, just rehoop. Just rehoop. As frustrated as you could be, but just rehoop, because you're gonna mess that up. I'm telling you, you're gonna mess it up. Let's see. Going down. Supervisor Mello. Hey Karen, how you doing? Hey Pretty Eyes, how are you? And Raleigh. I order from World also. Their warehouse is here in Oklahoma, and they've also opened a huge walk-in store. You're lucky, friend. You're lucky. Well, I'm kind of lucky too, because I have a wholesaler that's buying me also. So, and I do buy a lot of stuff from them and stuff. Hey SK, how you doing? Working on the garden. Well, I don't blame you. I know here in Virginia today, the weather was really, really nice. I actually got to walk outside while I was at work and, just enjoy the warm weather a little bit. And I'm hoping that tomorrow the weather is just as nice so that I get to sit outside in my backyard. And I also want to go out and I have to do some shopping and all that stuff. So get out of the house and do stuff and everything. So, yeah, so I'm hoping that I get to enjoy the weather and all that stuff. So, all right, guys. So I went down the chat and it's 9:30. It's 9:30. That's pretty good. So I hope you guys like today's topic. I tried to cover everything that I know about the stabilizers that I have, that I use and stuff. I was just doing a whole bunch of research and everything. There are so many different types out there. But one of the things that I highly recommend is use Google. Go out there, and if you're not sure about what type of stabilizer you should do, just type the question. What stabilizer should I use on cotton fabric? What stabilizer should I use on polyester? What stabilizer should I use when embroidering on a jean jacket? And you're going to find your answer. And I highly recommend that if you have a thrift store that's by you, go out there and buy a couple of shirts and a couple of jackets or something. They should be inexpensive there. And that way you have fabric that you can practice on, and you can try the different types of stabilizers with different types of designs, and you can see how they're going to look and stuff like that. It is really, really tricky. I mean, that's why I tell people, to be really good at embroidery, it does take time. It's not something you can just do overnight. You have to learn, and sometimes you learn a lot by a lot of mistakes. And sometimes I find that a lot of people sometimes quit because of the mistakes. Instead of looking at the mistakes as a learning opportunity, sometimes they kind of look at it as a failure, and they're like, oh, it's not for me. And then they quit. But don't feel that way. I mean, when you make a mistake and stuff, try to understand the mistake. Try to understand why you got the puckering. Try to understand why the misalignment was there. Why did the fabric shift? What was the combination? Why didn't that combination that you picked work, right? So that way, as time goes on, you're going to get better, and you're going to get better. And before you know it, you're going to fall in love with embroidery. And that's going to be like, I want to do this all the time. So guys, like I said, I hope you like today's topic, and I guess I will see you next week for Embroidery Happy Hour. And I do have videos that I am going to be posting. It's just that I haven't had time to edit them so that I can post them up, but I'm going to try to do much better and see if I can put more videos out there for you guys. I also want to start doing sewing projects too, because I like doing that stuff. It's kind of fun. And I figured I would do sewing / embroidery projects. So I don't know. We'll see where I'm going to keep going and stuff. And, you guys let me know what you like, what you don't like. And if you guys see anything, like have a topic you want me to cover, something like that, put it in the comments below. That way I always read the comments. I always try to respond to everybody. And if I see that one of you guys are asking for something, and I haven't done it before, I'll be happy to do it, because I mean, that's how I get better, and so everybody can learn. Because chances are, if this is a topic that's of interest to you, it's probably interest of other people as well. So you guys take care, and I'm gonna cut it short so I can get some rest. And I will see you guys next Friday. So I'll talk to you guys later. Happy Easter. Enjoy your weekend, and stay safe. So I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.